Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Shrinvatam Swakataha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtanaha Hridayam Tosto Hi Abhadrani Vidunoti Shruti Satam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, Verse 1 and 2. Verse 1. Maitreya Uvacha Atadikshāt Raja tu Ayemeda Sateന sa Brahmavattate Manokshetre Yatra Prachi Saraswati. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, King Prithu initiated the performance of 100 horse sacrifices at the spot where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. This piece of land is known as Brahmavatta, and it was controlled by Swayambhu Manu. Text 2. Tad abhipretya bhagavan karmati sayam atmanaha sata kraturna mamarse prutor yajna mahotsavam. Translation. When the most powerful Indra, the king of heaven, saw this, he considered the fact that King Prithu was going to exceed him in fruitive activities. Thus Indra could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. This envy is also found in the personality of the King of Heaven, Indra. As evident from revealed scriptures, Indra was several times envious of many persons. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities and the execution of yoga practices or siddhis. Indeed, he could not tolerate them, and he desired to break them up. He was envious due to fear that those who performed great sacrifices for the execution of mystic yoga might occupy his seat. Since no one in this material world can tolerate another's advancement, everyone in the material world is called Matsara, envious. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is therefore said that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who are completely nirmatsara, non-envious. In other words, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. However, when one is envious of his competitor, that is material, the demigods posted in this material world are not exempt from envy. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चातदेशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and thank you for giving me an opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So I have just taken the help of Bhagavad Gita to summarize these verses. So we see in this new chapter of chapter 19 where sage Maitreya is um, saying to Vidura that King Prithu was initiating the performance of 100 horse sacrifices on land known as Brahmavarta, where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. And this land was controlled by Swayambhu Mani. Having known this, demigod Indra feels very insecure and he feels threatened and develops enviousness nature towards King Prithu. Prabhupada explains here why one has envious nature. This nature is seen in all living entities, right from demigod to human beings and to the animal kingdom. Indra has exemplified this nature several times at various circumstances. One can correlate the same situation to understand the cause for such emotions which arises, although these are very futile for one's progress in spiritual growth. Indra was fearing that due to the sacrifices performed by Prithu Maharaj, he may lose his position to Prithu Maharaj. He was envious due to fear arising in him. So it is to be understood that envious feelings sprouts within when one has fear of losing something, maybe his or her status quo in the workplace, or seeing someone in as advancing or becoming more prosperous in life. Why do we develop fear? The reason is our intrinsic nature is eternity. And when we attach to asat, which means temporary, which stays for only limited time, this is which is an opposite to our intrinsic nature. That is why we develop the emotion of fear. Similarly, if you analyze why one becomes envious of other person who is exhibiting much better than oneself, again, it is a fear of the person, making him think that he may be looked down upon in the society or being not noticed in the society, or he may not stand out in the society, thus developing low self esteem. It is mentioned in the second verse that if one has to take up to Srimad Bhagavatam, one should be completely nirmatsara, that means totally non envious, which means one does not advance in spiritualism if one is envious of other living entity. But whereas in Krishna consciousness, if one is excelled and advances in Krishna consciousness, everyone considers him to be most fortunate, rather having envious feelings towards that devotee. Such nature of non-envious is a typical of Vaikuntha. So one can draw a conclusion that all qualities that are exhibited in the material world are an opposite in nature. Those are seen in Vaikuntha. That is why which ultimately why one achieves peace and free from fearfulness in Vaikuntha. Therefore, if we all have to advance in Krishna consciousness, we should be mindful in observing these qualities and work to overcome them by intelligence. An important aspect of cultivating the divine nature is to feed the intellect with uplifting knowledge from the scriptures. When the intellect is illumined with proper knowledge, one's action naturally becomes sublime. I like to take this opportunity to refresh for all of us from Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, where Lord Krishna talks about divine and demonic nature, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature, which are hindrance to our spiritual growth. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. Lord Krishna himself states that in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demonic. Those who are demonic do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor truth is found in them. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, The demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blasphemy against the real religion. Lord Krishna says, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I virtually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. So here Lord Krishna is very clearly mentioning that when whoever has these demonic qualities take birth again into this material existence in different species forms of life. The feeling of envy is of course is no good feeling. It makes you feel hostile, resentful, angry and irritable. Your whole body and mind feels discomfort, especially when your mind is disturbed and does not allow you to focus. When such emotions arises and you tend to make wrong decisions, in return causing more damage to the relationship. If it is the other way, if someone is envious of you, it is good to ignore by educating your mind. The world is of dualities, where Lord Himself has declared in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. Harboring divine qualities helps one towards liberation, while if one harbors demonic qualities, one gets binded by egotism, arrogance, desire, anger, and abuse the Lord who is present in their own body and as well as in the body of others. Chapter 16, verse 1 to 3, Lord Krishna lists out certain divine qualities like Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitah Danam Dhamasya Cha Yajnascha Svadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodas Tyagah Shantir Apishnunam Dayam Bhuteshva Aloluptvam Mardvam Hirir Achapalam Teja Kshama Triti Saucham Adroha Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivam Abhijatasya Bharata. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, these are the saintly virtues of those endowed with divine nature, such as fearlessness, purity of mind, steadiness in spiritual knowledge, charity, control of the senses, sacrifice, study of the sacred books, austerity and straightforwardness, non-violence, truthfulness, absence of anger, renunciation, peacefulness, restraint from fault finding, compassion towards all living beings, absence of covetousness, gentleness, modesty, and lack of fickleness, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, bearing enmity towards none, and absence of vanity. These are the divine qualities, and one should strive for developing such qualities rather than being overtaken by the demonic qualities. So, one should strive to attain these qualities. Pertaining to this, I would like to share my own experience with you all, which may to some or may not be beneficial, but it did work for me. Whenever I get any such emotions, negative emotions or demonic emotions, I start analyzing right at that moment why this emotion arose and started pausing for a moment and immediately, I'm not immediately reacting, but studying the situation, what caused that emotion to rise, as it helps you to understand and derive conclusion more better. Instead of immediately reacting, you will respond in a better way to the situation, which makes you feel that you have handled it in a better way. So today, that's all I had for today's verses. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity